Split pea soup and a picanha sandwich. Let's start by getting our Dutch oven, put it over medium heat with some oil. I'm going to be using 1 onion, a handful of carrots, and a handful of stalks of celery. I'm going to let this simmer for about 5 minutes, soften up a little bit, and then we're going to add some more stuff. With that onion, carrot, celery mix, I added some garlic and let that saute up. And for this soup, I'm going to be using some ham hocks. You're welcome to use normal ham or bacon, but I'm going to use ham hocks for the smoky flavor. And also, they were on sale. So I throw them in after sauteing that mirepoix for a little bit. And then I'm going to go in with my split peas. I'm just using a pound here, just some plain old Kroger brand split peas. And once you do that, I'm going about 2 liters of stock, and also make sure to spill it all over the stove like I did. Now that my vomit soup is simmering, I'm going to let this go for, I don't know, about an hour until those peas are real soft and I can just mash everything up. Before I do that, I'm going to take the ham hocks out, pick the meat off, throw the bones away, and put the ham back in. Then it'll be pretty much done. So now that it's simmering, we can take our lid. We can cover her for almost, not fully, for about an hour, like I said. And I noticed that this soup doesn't exactly look the most appetizing. When I was in Buffalo, New York last weekend, I thought the same thing. And then I ate it. All right, and then I ate the soup, and my life changed. So don't judge a soup just because it looks like baby vomit. I am going to end up finishing this with a little bit of cream to add some thickness. Alternatively, you can put potatoes in right as it starts to simmer to add that thickness or that starchiness to your soup. Either or works. I just don't have potatoes because I don't know. I don't have them. So here, I'm taking my ham hocks out so I can strip them down. But it turns out they didn't really cook long enough for me to do that, so I kind of did it the ghetto way and used a knife. These were really hot and it hurt a lot to do this, and I ended up using my hands as well, as you will see. But I'd like to say that earlier I used about 1 onion, a handful of carrots, and a handful of stalks of celery, along with some garlic. But feel free to take and add with what you have. You can use water instead of stock. You don't really have to use exactly what I put in here. I'm trying to emphasize that you can kind of cook in whatever way you want. And here I am peeling the meat off the ham hocks, but I'm having a lot of trouble. It is hurting a lot. But I ended up getting it. I actually ended up taking these out of the stew after they'd done cooking because they had a really terrible texture. These were some really bad ham hocks, but they added a lot of smokiness to the soup. Here I'm going ahead and mashing up my soup before I add my ham back in. This is optional. Really, you should use an immersion blender, but I'm too broke for that, so I'm using a potato masher. And I did this for a good long while, and here goes in the ham hocks. I'm stirring these in. These add a lot of flavor to the soup, but really bacon will do the trick. Plain old ham will do the trick, whether it's deli ham or a head of ham. It will make your soup better. Here, I ended up adding my salt and pepper, and I just stirred, and I did this to taste. Make sure to taste throughout the cooking process if you don't already do that. It's just going to make that end product a lot better for yourself and for whoever you are serving it to. Just make sure not to overdo it because you can always add more, but you can never take stuff out, turns out. Feel free to experiment with this. Add different spices, add different herbs. I added a few bay leaves earlier in the process, but you can also use thyme, rosemary, whatever herbs you have in your fridge. But this soup is pretty much done. Like I said, I'm going to add some cream to finish it off. But yeah, let's move on to the picanha sandwich. I just used this because I had picanha in my fridge that I had to use, and I sous vide this at 130 for about 6 hours. That's why I got the cut and the color to be so perfect. But I just seared the fat cap first, and then I flipped her over to the other side. And I also got the side of it just to get some even browning on it. And a picanha is a very slept-on piece of meat. If you can get your hands on one, they're usually relatively inexpensive, and they produce some great steaks, or you can cook them as a roast. But here I finished off the sear and then I fried up some onions. These are some onions that I actually had from the other day in which I tried to caramelize them, but I got the pan too hot and then walked away, and then they turned into whatever this is. But I decided to eat them anyways, and they did taste good after sopping them in beef fat. For the sandwich bread, I ended up using a local sourdough. It's a red rye sourdough that I got at a local bakery here in Colorado Springs. And it makes a great base for a sandwich like this because it's able to sop up a lot of the juices and handle a little more moisture in the bread, especially because this bread is a little older. It'll be able to hold up a lot more with all the liquids that are going to come with this sandwich. And I tried to slice this fairly thin. I didn't want it too thin. I wasn't going for like a French dip sort of style. I wanted some thicker pieces. But I did get a really good medium rare, and I don't care that I'm a cheater and used a sous vide. That's just what I do. Here I went in with some grass-fed white cheddar. The grass-fed just makes it taste different. It's a little tangier. I don't actually care that it's grass-fed, but I like the flavor a little bit more. But this was a pretty basic sandwich. I don't try to do too much with my sandwiches because I like to enjoy every flavor rather than just loading it on with a million different things. But if you like that, you do you. I didn't use the whole cheese slice, just enough to cover it. And then I topped it off. And before I put it in the pan, I smeared it with some mayonnaise rather than putting butter in the pan. I just feel like this helps the bread brown evenly rather than putting butter and it not working well with the temperature of the pan, especially if you go at a little bit higher heat like I was. There are a few things I like more in the month of December when it is freezing horribly cold than a nice soup and sandwich, so this was really nice to have on a December evening. I smeared the other side with some mayonnaise when it was already, and I got that bad boy ready to flip. And as you can see, there's a lot of smoke and a lot of liquid in the pan, and using the mayonnaise actually really helps manage that, because if I was using butter, it definitely would have burned by now. And this is something you can do with all of your hot sandwiches, whether it's grilled cheese or a sort of melt like this. But I went in for the flip, and as you can see, it wasn't as burned as it looks on the camera. It was a little less burned, and the mayo gives it a little more color than traditional butter would. But yeah, that's basically it for the sandwich, and now we can try this thing out.
We've got our baby food sitting in the cup, looking as green as ever. Picanha sandwich. Let's see if I did it. Yeah. Yeah, this is good. It's probably like a slamma jamma. This probably shouldn't be paired with a pork soup, but when you cook like this, that's what you gotta do sometimes.